Thanks for joining me on the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
What if I told you that forcing your child to be more social actually harms their confidence? Because when we constantly push our kids into uncomfortable situations, we're actually teaching them not to trust their own intuition, not to listen to their gut. And this pressure can lead to anxiety or fear of situations. And ironically, it can make our child feel less confident in certain situations when they're not ready to engage with other people. This just isn't about temporary shyness. It's about giving your child the fundamental tools they need to navigate the world with security and resilience. Let me tell you a little story about my sweet little Pia. She was what you would call a shy child. She would cling to me at all moments. She was not interested in ordering her own food or talking to adults when they greeted her. She was very reticent to talk to people and kids. And it made me feel a certain way because when your child won't engage when someone says, "Hi, Pia, it's so nice to see you," and she's totally mute, it makes you feel as if, oh, I have a child who is disrespectful or unkind or doesn't have manners. But I learned the hard way that when Pia wasn't ready to talk to whomever it was, she wasn't ready to talk to them, not because she was being rude or because she was unkind or she didn't have manners. She was listening to her intuition. And she was listening to her gut. And I needed to respect that. But like most of us, we've been taught to have manners and speak to adults and look them in the eye and shake their hand. And my parents forced me into answering the phone. Kenny's residence, Michelle speaking, and talk to people who I didn't even know, announcing who I was on the telephone, even if I didn't want to. And so we come from this background. We come from the background that, you have to be kind to adults. And if you aren't being outgoing and if you aren't engaging, then you are rude. But allowing a child to come to their own thoughts and their own ideas is much better. So Pia and I went to a birthday party once, I remember it distinctly. It was at a bounce house place and it was crazy. There was so much going on and people were coming. We knew everyone at the party because it was a school party and everyone was coming up. "Oh, hi, Pia. Oh, hi, Michelle. How are you?" And I was greeting people and saying hi. And Pia was, of course, had her head in my, legs, wouldn't turn around, wouldn't say hi to people. And she just felt intimidated and she didn't want to leave my side. And I kept trying to push her. "Pia, you should get out there and play with someone. Pia, oh, look, there's your friend over there. Mia, she's looking for you. Why don't you go bounce with her? Oh, look, India's here." And the more I did that, the shyer she became because she wasn't ready. And so I learned that day that it wasn't really me, or it wasn't really her that needed to change the way in which she engaged in the world. It was me who needed to see her as in her development, right? And I kept thinking she's never going to grow out of this shy period. She's never going to come around. She'll never be able to order for herself. Everyone's going to think she's rude. And so when I started to change my mindset around that, when I started to think, you know what? She's going to get there when she gets there. And the best thing I can do is be here for her. And my mindset needs to change that she is in this very normal developmental stage. And being shy, quote unquote, is just a child listening to their own instincts. And so when we have these kinds of kids, we have to meet them where they're at. We can't push them beyond where they need to go, and they will get there. If you want to know more about kids and their emotions, you should listen to last week's episode, Stop Thinking Your Kid is Too Sensitive and Why Tears Don't Mean Fragile. It's a really good episode. So once I decided that it wasn't her that needed to change, it was my mindset that needed to change, things got a little bit easier. And I just allowed her to sit with me. I allowed her to take her time. And with that support, she was able to take more chances. She was able to go out on her own when she needed. She would always come back. If she needed to come back, I would always be there for her. So instead of saying, just go play, try to acknowledge their feelings. You can say, I know it's hard. I'm right here and you can stay with me until you are ready. That's a great one. Another thing that you can do is really reflect on their experience when they do join in. Not saying, oh, look, when you join in, you had a really good time. Instead, you can say, oh, hey, you played with India on the bounce house yesterday. How was it? What'd you guys do? What were you talking about? Was it fun? And let her reflect through probing questions around how she felt about that experience on the bounce house. And then outside of that, and I always say this for people, lots of people will say, oh, my kid's really bad at math, and so I need to get a math tutor, which isn't a terrible way to go. But I think there's another, idea out there that if your child is bad at math, do we spend more time doing English because they're really good at English and celebrate their English and build up their confidence around English so that it will translate to their math? So I like to recognize P. I used to like to recognize P. I still do when she's dancing, because she, this seemingly shy kid is a dancer, and she'll get up on stage in front of hundreds of people by herself and dance. And so I always say, wow, Pia, it's such a joy to watch you dance. And I can just see your self-confidence come through when you do. It's so fun to see you do that. And just helping her feel good and celebrate around dance, what translates into more, self-confidence in other areas. So if you're struggling with this, think of those ideas. Don't just say, go play. You can say, I know it's hard. I'm right here and I'll stay with you until you're ready. Reflect on their experiences when they do join in and ask them, how was it? And then recognize their really important strengths. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe or follow the podcast so you never miss any of them. It would mean the world to me. And I can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for joining us on the Peace in Parenting Podcast.